Today we fighting to protect our world. I've been investigating this duality between both aspects, and also I touch the human immigrations as well. This is why I think the art speak to the public more when there is a teamwork together. So this is the main thing. This is my, the way I operate in my life.
Hello, today Art in Adelaide is visiting Giuseppe Pappalardo, South Australian artist with deep Italian roots in his beautiful home here in Adelaide, and we would like to talk with him about his art and about his creative projects. Hi Giuseppe.
Hello.
Giuseppe, my first question, of course, about your ongoing exhibition in Botanical Garden in Adelaide, on upstairs in Adelaide. Can you please tell us about this project? What is it about and how you got the idea to create it?
The project is in collaboration with Guildhouse Botanic Garden called the Collection Project. And there was one opening as a competition. And I applied, it was October 2024. The idea behind this project, I was thinking early because I've got passion about plants. It's part of my body work, always focus on plants. So soon I saw the collection project I applied for, and I just written down my ideas, what I believe was an interesting concept. And then I was selected for developing this project. But the most interesting part for me being based as an artist in residence inside the Botanic Garden. And I was based in the library of the herbarium building collection. And that for me was good focus point, be able to be closer to the herbarians, work with the botanists, with the librarian as well, amazing books. That gave me very much a big scope and for investigation.
Can you tell us what this exhibition was about?
Yes.
So what is the main idea?
Yeah, of course. So exhibition is about two plants specific, the Opuntia and the olive tree. So these two plants in like Italy or Greek, they are very, very well celebrated. And in Australia, unfortunately, they are considered like weeds because they've been propagated, they've been take soil space to other native plants. And through the way they propagate is been through birds that have been eating olives, or the Opuntia, very easy to propagate because they drop their leaves and just keep walking. I've been investigating this duality between both aspects where, in one location they are part of the community, they are celebrated, they use in the cuisine, they use oil, it's famous all around the world. But here, unfortunately with the ecosystem change, so there is a bit, these plants take over the land. And also I touch the human immigrations as well, because this is the way the plants have been moved from humans as well. So it's an interesting aspect, so that's been always intriguing me, yeah.
Yeah, because people moving to Australia, they try to move part of their home.
The way I've been investigating, I start very much with the history of Australia, the way, for example, I discovered English, they try to create a farm of Opuntia. The English was interested in this farm because there is one insect, cochineal, to create the red colors. This project failed, so they abandoned the plants on the farm, and that was a problem because the plants they propagated, they start like invaded all the land. But another way the Opuntia coming to Australia was through emigrations to the Italians. If you see around Adelaide, you will see often when there is an Italian house, they've got a plant of Opuntia. I give you a little story about my family. My father survived the Second War. My father from Catania went to live in Etna with all other people and tried to escape to the German. For 2 years was eating the fruit of Opuntia. So this is why, in Italy they are celebrated plants as well, because he's a survivor. Give it opportunity people. When there is nothing to eat, this is the way to survive.
So, talking about your installation, what materials did you use and how you choose the materials?
Initially, this project in the past had been only display inside the Museum of Economy Botany, so it's an interior space. For the first time in 2025, the Guildhouse Botanic Garden decided to expand these installations in outdoor. So that already the outdoors and kind of making a selection of kind of material to use. My main focus in my practice is very much ceramics and sculpture as well. So I investigate very much to use ceramics mostly, and then with collaboration with horticulturists in the Botanic Garden and the management of Guildhouse and Botanic Garden, I was able to figure out what location installation was able to do. Initially told me about the project was very much one installation, but then I expand this in few installations. So today at the Botanic Garden will be 5 installations, 1 indoor inside the Museum of Economy Botany, and another 4 outdoor around the garden.
And did you meet some technical difficulties with installations in botanical gardens?
Yeah, so there was a few issues. First of all, for me, I never worked in large scale. I try to find other artists to help me to try to understand, the large scale, to be safe as well. And I need to say, in this project, have been amazing for me to connect with lots of local artists as well. I was not able to do this project alone. And I work, for example, with Guy Ringwood. He very well skilled in ceramics. He does lots of restaurant plates and also his art as well. So we was able to work, for example, with stoneware. For outdoor is fantastic because after fire become vitrified, so it become glass. So that was able to last outdoor with the strong sun as well. We've been having 50-degree temperature. So that been my investigation. Also working closer with horticulturists as well, because the location was determined often to less disturbing plants on the garden. That is important as well for myself. Yeah.
Didn't you scared to place fragile pieces outside?
Scared? No, not really. We was always aware about the fact, there is people around, there is kids around, so that was important to making sure it's safety for them as well. Also, I work with an amazing metalwork person to making sure all the piece was a safety for people, but also was able to stand upright and be safety for surroundings.
Even your totem?
Yeah, the totem installation as well. Well, today, for me, been amazing experience that, because I will start with the framework first, and then we work surrounded with the ceramics to install. Yeah.
Some sort of engineering first.
Yes, correct. All this stuff is important. And I need to say my background in design helped me a lot, at least for planning, to have the vision, to be able to understand what scale it will be. So that's been fantastic from my background on this side.
are these works just for display or people can buy them?
No, everything is for sale at the Botanic Garden. At the back of the catalog there is a list of my body work inside the Museum of Economy Botany. But then if you can use the QR code inside, you take you to the Guildhouse website and you'll be able to see the large installations as well. Yeah.
So people can buy them even after the exhibition will be finished?
No, they cannot. Need to be during this time, but also they can contact directly myself. And on the Guildhouse website there is my email contact. They can contact me directly. Yeah.
And you mentioned your background, which helped you with this project. What is your art background?
I've got a formal study in graphic design. I'm originally from Sicily, and I moved in study design in Florence, where I studied fashion design. And then I started work for Gianni Versace in Milan, and then as a designer as well. And then I moved to Australia, where Charlie Brown, sponsored me. And then I studied set and costume design, and then also design in general master. So that gives good knowledge of design in different aspects, like a set, costume, fashion. That gave me a good base for me to approach this project, really. Yeah.
And how you moved from fashion design to ceramic? Or was it just like existing in parallel worlds?
No, it was existing in parallel because I studied in ceramics when I was living in Italy, and Italy ceramics is part of our culture, and so always been in my mind. Of course, life take you to different other experience for work. You need to earn money, but then. When I moved from Sydney to Adelaide, I decided to be full-time artist. That was the time where I started back again. My passions was parking for a long time, and I started reuse again. Yeah. So ceramics, textile is also my passion. Yeah.
I was amazed with your installation in the Waterlily Pavilion in the pond. How did you manage to make these floating plates? Because they look just like lilies' leaves. This is so natural.
The Waterlily installation been very much the way I saw in the beginning was a plate like a little bit all around the pond. But then during this investigation and study, when he worked closely with the horticulturists, so I did have the plan of the original pond, how it being constructed. So there is wood grid all around the pond. It's maybe, let's say, 60 centimeter deep, and then there is a hollow in the center where the big lily is placed. But the small lily around, they are in a separate little pots put in this grid in timber. They said to me they don't really want to disturb very much the big water lily plants. The small ones is easy to move because it was a separate pot. So being very much negotiate with the horticulturists, more than understood my project, I will install all the plates, and more was open up to this project. So in the beginning I was imagining to install, let's say, 15 plates. In the end we compromised to install 7. So also we try to manage how to look like stay on the surface. We planned with this metal work. Before was a table, but then we changed the surface in a grid, so less visible from the.
Yes, they look like floating.
Yeah. So we achieved the floating look through this mesh table. And when I did the production on the plates, I did with Guy Ringwood. We did some holes on internal the plates. So the plates, they are secure on this mesh with the wire. So also kids don't come in, they can remove the plates. So yeah, the final look very much floating. So I'm very happy for the look. Yeah.
Yeah, they look absolutely natural, organic.
The idea was the plates configurations simulate the leaves of the large water lily. So that is some kind coexisting together, the plates with the leaves together. And there is alteration of, visually as well. So it's all together, match very well together, yeah.
So you had to work a lot with botanists. What other things you learned from botanic gardens, especially scientists?
Yeah, different aspects. For example, with horticulturists, I was making sure the plants did get much disturbed. For example, waterlily or the olive tree. In the case of the installation of Mediterranean garden, I was not able to dig more than 60 centimeters down because then it will disturb the roots of the plants. But also with the botanist, I was able to investigate more about the plants, which one specific are more weedy compared to others, how to search on the National Herbarium website, see the location in South Australia, and then be able to visit, with my car and check out how the plants been survive after maybe 5 years, 10 years. And then I went in a different trip with the botanists to see these plants in origin and see how they've been embedded the land. Yeah, that for me has been the main interesting part because I need to say back when I was a little kid, I was always very interested in the botanic gardens. Today, first things I do when I visit a new city or a new country, I go check out the botanic garden because it tells many things about the country as well. Yeah.
Talking about your connection between the current exhibition and your fashion design experience. I know that you had some fashion show related to this exhibition, but unfortunately we could not attend. Could you tell us and our viewers about this show?
Yes, of course. So my fashion background, because I studied in fashion in Florence, and today my approach in my art is to try very much to include in all my skill I have been learning all my life. So fashion is one of this. So I've been artist in residence inside the Botanic Garden for 1 year. I was also exposed to different requests, different invitations. So one of these in specific was related to one fashion show, Bicentennial Greenhouse inside the Botanic Garden, and was organized for the 50 years anniversary of the Flower Power organization. Considering myself being gay as well, I support the Flower Power organization fighting versus HIV, etc. So I decided to participate as well. And so what I did a dress totally in canvas, plain canvas, and then I painting before was cutting the dress with aloe tree and Opuntia as well. And then we signed the dress with this amazing costume maker called Gail, and we did this beautiful outfit. It was an amazing experience for me. I need to say the textile in my work, they've got a huge influence if the visitors be able to see inside the Museum of Economic Botany. There is a vase in particular where I include in some felt textile or some reproduction of Opuntia leaves in textile as well. Because I like, as a language, be able to mix media as well, and that give us more able to be reading through the public. Everyone get any different message as well. Textile is very important for me as well. Yeah.
Giuseppe, we talked about your current project, your recent projects, but I'm quite curious, how did you start your art journey? What did you start from as a kid or a teenager or whatever?
My father was an artist as well. Was the some kind of artist where, work long hours and then back home relax and was painting. So as a little kid, I was see after dinner painting that, put in my mind art was part of the normal lifestyle. And then, he teach me to, put the fruit on the table, create some shade and drawing and painting that. So I grew up with this background. And then later on, when I studied art as well, been see so many exhibitions in my life, and I can say always when I see specific artists, I keep as a mentor for myself because they've been so inspiring. From my teacher, for example, in my secondary school in Mustica, he's pushed myself, to be always better artists, improve the skills, and other artists from Gianni Versace as well in textile, or visiting in Spain the Museum of Picasso as well. Back again to the collection project. This project was not able to do just by myself. I like to work as a team, and I've been involved with so many other artists surrounded Adelaide that were being able to collaborate with myself. This is why I think the art speak to the public more when there is a teamwork together and not just a single person. This is my, the way I operate. In my life, I've been influenced or being curious about art, like South American, South Italy, Baroque as well, art, or perhaps the Impressionist or Picasso. So you really need to be open-minded, and that is what artists need to be. Yeah.
And what inspires you normally? What is the main source of inspiration, maybe?
Well, the main inspiration is very much like plants, is my inspiration, also like mythology as well, also the ecosystem, the way, unfortunately, today we fighting to protect, our world. So this is the main things. But also, I'm very inspired by primitive art as well. But also, on the other side, for example, doing ceramics, I really interested in, technology and chemicals. With the glaze, the way you fire, all these aspects that they are determinant for the final product you try to achieve.
Thank you, Giuseppe. It was really interesting, and I hope that our viewers enjoyed this interview as well, and encourage everyone who is here in South Australia to come and see Giuseppe's exhibition in Botanic Gardens. It's still open till the end of February, so you have a few days to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Victor. Thank you.